Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, well, we're digging into something quite intriguing, this whole idea of sumptuous living. We've got some interesting source material, and importantly, we also drew on your insights, the listener's perspective.
That's right.
So maybe let's start with the word itself, sumptuous. The definition we found is pretty straightforward. Very expensive, rich, luxurious, or magnificent.
Yeah, and you hear that and immediately think, big houses, fancy cars, all that.
Exactly, material wealth.
But our mission here really is to explore, well, what does living well truly mean? Beyond just the stuff.
Right.
And your own thoughts on this were actually really insightful, much more personal.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
Yeah.
When we asked you, the listener, what living well meant, the answer that came back was powerful. To live my life to the fullest.
A simple phrase, but it says a lot.
It really does. And you gave this great example about working out in the morning, how that specific action can make the entire day feel full and worthwhile.
Right. Regardless of whatever else happens later, it sets a foundation.
Totally. And that just immediately shifts the focus, doesn't it? From like external signs of wealth to an internal feeling, a sense of genuine fulfillment.
And that brings us quite neatly to one of the main challenges the sources highlighted when it comes to living well.
Which is?
The danger of overload.
Ah, okay. Overload.
Yeah, and it's described as something that often goes undetected until it actually happens. It's sneaky.
So it just creeps up on you.
Kind of, and then suddenly you're in this foul mood, often triggered by things you didn't expect, these unexpected external forces. Your internal reserves just run out.
Okay, so if overload is sort of the enemy here, the thing that drains that feeling of fullness, what's the counter strategy? How do we protect that inner sense of richness?
Well, the sources suggest something quite practical. Partitioning off today with sets with good moments.
Partitioning, like creating divisions.
Exactly. Building in these intentional pauses, these good moments throughout the day. It's not just about coping. It's about actively curating your experience to protect your personal rhythm.
Your rhythm. I like that term. It feels very personal.
It is. And preserving that rhythm seems absolutely crucial for this deeper kind of sumptuous life.
So it's about managing the inevitable ups and downs.
Precisely. The sources are realistic. Bad days are inevitable. You can't avoid them entirely.
Right. Life happens.
But the goal is maybe to keep them from crashing hard.
Yeah.
To maintain some equilibrium. And the threats to that rhythm, well, they can be varied.
Like what?
Well, sometimes it's external pressure, sure. But the sources also mention things like people who purposely gaslight.
Oh, wow. That's intense.
It is. People who intentionally try to mess with your perception of reality, that directly attacks your inner rhythm, your sense of stability.
Yeah, I could see that.
And it also includes those moments we all have where we realize we've mistakenly spent too much energy on something I shouldn't have. Getting drawn into pointless arguments or worries.
That definitely throws off your rhythm. So it's about being mindful of where your energy goes.
Very much so. Proactive self-preservation, as you put it earlier.
And does this connect to how we handle, say, social situations?
Absolutely. There's some really practical advice there. Not to nosedive into social situation too quickly and deeply.
Okay, so don't just jump into the deep end.
Right. If things feel like they're getting too intense or overwhelming, the advice is to take a step back and evaluate to preserve your rhythm.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like protecting your inner space, even when you're around other people. Kind of self-care.
Exactly.
So if we circle back to sumptuous, this idea of protecting our rhythm, building in good moments, it really reshapes the word, doesn't it?
Totally does.
If richness isn't just about expense, what does it look like? I keep thinking about that image we talk about.
The coffee on the porch.
Yeah. The person just sitting there, maybe in pajamas, sipping coffee, totally peaceful, dog at their feet.
Relaxed. Content.
There's a definite richness there, a sumptuousness, but it has nothing to do with price tags or showing off. It's purely personal contentment, feeling full from the inside.
Which brings up a really interesting point about why we sometimes chase the expensive version of sumptuous. Is it for ourselves or...
But for other people.
Well, yeah. And that leads perfectly into our quote of the day. This one's from Will Rogers.
Okay, let's hear it.
Rogers said, "Too many people spend money they haven't earned to buy things they don't want, to impress people they don't like."
Oof. That hits home, doesn't it?
It really does.
It just crystallizes that contrast we've been talking about. Spending to impress, seeking that external validation, versus finding genuine personal fulfillment. that inner peace, that rhythm.
Exactly. It questions the whole motivation behind striving for a certain look of success or richness.
So boiling it all down then,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway from this deep dive on sumptuous living?
Well, I think it suggests that true sumptuous living, it's actually less about the grand, magnificent, expensive things.
And more about
More about consciously cultivating and fiercely protecting that personal rhythm, the one that allows you to feel genuinely full and worthwhile day in and day out.
protecting your inner wealth, essentially.
So maybe the thought to leave everyone with is this. If preserving your unique rhythm is the key,
Yeah.
what small, intentional, good moments, those little partitions, can you start building into your day, starting today, to make it feel truly sumptuous no matter what's happening externally?